She's done it again, my dears. Honestly, from what you hear in the press and all over, she's failing, she's dying, she's floundering, she's got one foot in the grave. You'd think that she's just some kind of skin and bones carcass with a faint pulse, just about barely beating. And there she is, my dears. More beautiful than ever, absolutely gorgeous in those lunettes, looking so cool with the pink lippy and the headscarf, the silver shampoo and set. So gorgeous. She surprised everyone at the Royal Windsor Horse Show with a little appearance. Everyone thought she's ailing away in bed on a drip. But there she is, my love, looking so stunning and so chatty, so effervescent, as if not a care in the world, and happy. That's the main thing. Looked authentically happy. Happy to be in the company of her beloved horses, her pony won the race. Balmoral Leia, she was given a trophy actually because she was supreme champion of the race, whatever it was, my dear. And she was with her son Edward having a jolly time, and it's just so life affirming, and it's such a tonic to the spirit, isn't it, to see our wonderful sovereign looking so happy and in her element. And it means that, you know, hopefully she'll be making a few of those appearances at the Jubilee. She ain't dead, my dears. She ain't dead. She's not even close to dead. She's going to outlive us all. That's my volition anyway, my dears, and I'm sticking to it. But there she was. And on top of looking as sexy and alive as she does in her dotage, oh my word, we were treated to a trailer of a new BBC documentary, Elizabeth the Unseen Queen, which showcases the private collection, photographs and video footage taken from donkeys years ago that's never been seen before. And you know, they say in the blurb it's the Queen as she's never been seen before. You hear this a million times, don't you? Well, I've got to tell you, it was true. I mean, they've only shown a little snippet in the trailer so far, but it took my breath away and it brought tears to my eyes. Seriously, I'm such a wuss. It brought tears to my eyes. She looked so stunningly beautiful in a way that I hadn't really recognised before in her youth. And there's something about the motion of her breaking out into those smiles and camping it up for the cameras that really did illustrate it in a way that photography alone doesn't, and really quite candid moments. I'm so excited to see this documentary. So good on the BBC. You know, they've annoyed a lot of us over the last few years, and like everybody else, it's not just them, they've been subsumed by this whole wokedom. You know, this is a kingdom, dear, not a wokedom. So we want to bring that back, and some encouraging things are happening, aren't they? There was the whole idea of Elon Musk taking over Twitter, which looks like it's now, they're thrashing that out. There's some uncertainty, but we're hoping that goes ahead, most of us. And the BBC's had its problems with the royal family over the last year, but it looks like they're pulling their socks up. They're going to be covering much of the Jubilee. And also, they've suspended the BBC television licence, which is mandatory in the United Kingdom. If you watch live television, they've suspended it for the Jubilee weekend. And Netflix seem to be seeing the light as well. They've been hemorrhaging subscribers, as we've discussed, and views, and you know, they're in deep trouble at the moment. They're having to turn to some kind of advertising model. But apparently, they've emailed all of their staff. An email went out to all staff saying that they're going to have to start tolerating diverse opinions or find new jobs. You know, they've been quite blunt about it. And, you know, to be honest with you, my dears, these people, these generations who have come up and they're insisting on being pandering to and worrying too much about their feelings being hurt, they should never have been indulged in the way that they have done over the last few years. Employers, organisations, companies, networks, they've got way too nervous about offending people, way too nervous about appeasing advertisers. You know, this should have been nipped in the bud years ago, because that's what has led us to this state of ridiculousness, where we find ourselves pandering to a minority of a minority. And I'm afraid the internet is to blame. Social media tribes, these people who would never have had attention and captured attention in the way that they have done and held everybody else to ransom, would never have happened without the internet, you see. And I'm afraid it's one of the downsides of it, because it's given rise to stupidity and a lack of debate. You know, how did we come to a place where if you even question the idea of biological sex being a thing, if you tell people that biological sex is real, or if you tell people that you personally don't agree with critical race theory, how do we get to whether that's right or wrong or somewhere in between. How do we get to a place where you can be cancelled and you lose your job just for questioning or having a different opinion, which happens all over the place? University lecturers, scientists, down to factory workers. Everybody across the spectrum being held to ransom, but just because they're not towing the line of what they're supposed to believe. So hopefully them cracking down on Netflix staff and saying, it's time to man up, whatever gender you express yourself as. It's time to man up, grow some balls, stop trying to hold the world to ransom and throwing a tantrum just because, people aren't going to call you what you say that they should call you, or someone in this TV show says a word that makes you go, oh, I don't want to hear, expresses a view that hurts your feelings. Tough shit. If you want to see the real world, take a hike to Ukraine right now. Why don't you go and see what's going on there? Matters of life and death. And hopefully you might start drawing the lines and connecting the dots between something as serious and as grave and as bloody as that. You might be able to connect the dots between that and where it starts, which is the encroaching upon people's freedoms and trying to silence and muffle them and mute them. Because there is a direct line. And everyone's on tenterhooks because I think it's this evening when Mr. Tom Cruise makes his appearance at the pre-Jubilee event, A Gallop Through History, which has been a 4-day equestrian event. And we're also curious to see why he's involved, what he's going to be doing. Who knew that he loved the royal family so much? I'm not a particular fan of his, but I can't wait to see what's going on. The journalists have been snooping and trying to get the juice, but no one has so far, so let's see what they come up with. But he's very friendly with the Cambridges now, and apparently, and we can look forward to this, we can look forward to Catherine showcasing another dazzling gown perhaps, because it seems that they're going to be attending the premiere of Top Gun, the sequel of it, at Leicester Square next Thursday. They don't always just attend these things for fun, by the way, these premieres, in aid of charity, because it will be hosted by Paramount Pictures and also the Film and TV Charity, and they support people who work within the film and TV industry. Oh, and I must give a shout out to darling Princess Beatrice, because I think she was attending the charity preview of the Gallop Through History the other day, something like that, and the gown she wore really impressed me. It was so stunning. I loved that sort of satiny sheen with the floral. The cut was gorgeous. It was a fishtail number, but I thought it was so nice. She did a really good job. I've got to give her praise where it's due. However, for me, I'm afraid the earrings let it down. There's always something. It's like those York girls, they just can't resist, can they? Adding some ingredient to the cake mixture that mars it and ruins it. I thought those earrings were hideous. I think they're feathers, but they look like old fish bones to me hanging off her ears. So if I could just block them out, but she almost got there, so I wanted to give her some praise for that. Oh, and speaking about cakes, the platinum pudding has been announced. Yes, there were over 5,000 entrants to find pudding for the Jubilee that would become iconic. In the kingdom we have Victoria sponge cake from the reign of Victoria, coronation chicken, which became a very well-loved dish here after the coronation. Well, they chose a winner, Gemma Melvin, a 31-year-old amateur baker who was taught by her grandma. She took the prize for a cake that was inspired by the lemon posset that Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh enjoyed at their wedding feast. She was inspired by that lemon, so she did a lemon Swiss roll and amaretti trifle. Looks like diabetes on a plate, doesn't it, my dears? It's lemon curd Swiss roll, St. Clement's jelly, lemon custard, amaretti biscuits, mandarin coulis, fresh whipped cream and chocolate shards with crushed amaretti biscuits. So highly indulgent, my dears, highly indulgent. I know that trifle is known abroad, but it's not as common as here in the kingdom. I only like really fresh homemade trifle, because a lot of our supermarkets do ready-made versions of it, and I always find that quite unpalatable. But when it's freshly done on a beautiful, still English summer's day by a riverside or out in a country pub, And they serve you that fresh trifle. It's quintessentially British, my dears, and a beautiful retro indulgent treat. It has to be served at just the right time. And the judges included the head chef from Buckingham Palace, Dame Mary Berry, who's a beloved presenter here. And what they didn't know is that there was a surprise guest to announce the winner. Camilla! Prince William's been receiving glowing praise in the press this week and some rave reviews. The people love him. It doesn't matter, the media are trying to have this certain narrative and tear him down. Well, I think they'll start getting twitchy if people start speaking about republicanism, because the media know where their bread's buttered. You look at any front page in the history of the tabloid press, and it's royal family, royal family, royal family. They are the bread and butter. I mean, when the day comes when the royal family aren't there to write about, the Kardashians won't last forever. The Harkles won't be newsworthy forever. They're very lucrative having them around, so maybe they're realising a little bit of praise for all their hard work is not a bad thing either, in amongst all the conflict. But he's rightly been getting praise for that visit we discussed when the Cambridges went to Scotland for a couple of days this week. William Burns, a 66-year-old father of 6 and grandfather of 25, was formerly homeless because they were working a lot with people who had been formerly homeless. He said, "I am a grandfather. It felt like a son hugging a father. It was the way he hugged me. I didn't expect that, really, to be honest. It was a boost. I've never felt anything like it in my entire life before, and my existence as a human being." My dear, this is the power of royalty. You're witnessing it before your very eyes. I got to tell you, I wouldn't mind being in the royal embrace like that. In Big Willy's arms, would you, my dears? No, I wouldn't mind at all. Lucky old Mr. Burns. He said he will be a fantastic king and keep Scotland and Britain together. Well, we'll see about that. I don't know. It seems a bit 50-50 in Scotland. But yes, it's tours like this which will hopefully promote that feeling of unity, because I would hate to see Scotland move away from England, but time will tell there, my dears. Prince William, being the very busy bee that he is, was also making somebody else's day, and I'm sure this person made his day as well. A lady by the name of Deborah James, who has suffered from bowel cancer, received a damehood for tireless campaigning on behalf of charity. She's raised £5 million for this charity. She raised all this money for cancer research. And actually, that's one of the main charity shops that I go to. I'm always showing you my tip jar finds with the labels from cancer research. Well, it's the same charity. So it's a really worthy cause. And sadly, she's moved into end-of-life care recently. I think she announced it last week, that she's now in palliative care. But she was surprised by the Queen, who approved the honour of damehood be conferred upon her. And so the Duke of Cambridge in person made a visit to her home. He is the president of the Royal Marsden Hospital, where she received treatment for her cancer. They had tea and champagne, and Deborah said, "Prince William actually came to our family house today. I'm utterly honoured that he joined us for afternoon tea and champagne, where he not only spent a generous amount of time talking to my whole family, but also honoured me with my damehood. It's quite surreal to have a royal pop in at home. And yes, you can imagine the cleaning antics and preparation went off the scale. But it was all irrelevant because William was so kind and he put us all at ease. It was such a special day for my whole family, making memories to last a lifetime. He's welcome back any time." So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Big Willy haters. Anybody with a heart can recognise William's good heart. William was also papped leaving Oswald's last night, which is a private members club in Mayfair. He had a 3-hour catch-up with friends, and the club is known for its good wine. So let's hope he had treated himself to a tipple or two for all that hard work he's been doing on our behalf. Deserves a night of pleasure. The Princess Royal looked handsome the other day. She's patron of a charity called The Not Forgotten, and at the garden party they received 3,000 guests from military organisations, charities and care homes. This charity, by the way, sounds a bit like Invictus, although it's been going a lot longer. It provides leisure and recreation for wounded, injured or sick ex-servicemen and women. Sound familiar? And she looked wonderful there in the lavender-coloured hat. She had that lustrous two-stranded pearl necklace and a very nice green and purple ensemble with the green brolly. Lots of the royals made appearances, Charles and Camilla, Charles looking so dapper and Camilla in her blue, Anne again, but this time in a lovely red number. And also they wheeled out the Duke of Kent and Prince Michael of Kent and my darling Princess Michael of Kent. For those of you who insist that the Harkle's children don't exist, well, you might want to take it up with James Corden, because he's been telling the press that he's had play dates, his children with the Harkle children, play dates with them, and been going for dinner with the Harkles, full of praise. He says that Harry is a devoted and loving husband and father, and thinks what they've done is incredibly brave, and says he'll always be in their corner. I'm sure he takes up more than a corner. Well, I can actually believe that in many ways he is a devoted father and husband. He's certainly devoted to that project, isn't he? So, yeah, I have no problem believing that. But it is a shame that he can't extend that to being a devoted son, grandson, family member as well, isn't it? Quite a shame. Now, we know that the Queen decided that only working royals will appear on the balcony for trooping the colour on the first day of the Jubilee 4-day weekend. So we know that Harry and Meghan won't be appearing, and nor will Prince Andrew. But as I've said before, my hunch, my fear, if you want to put it that way, is that they will be paraded on the balcony on the final day of the Jubilee, which is going to probably capture a bit more attention. I've got a sneaky feeling that they'll all be on the balcony that day. And some of you have asked, but this is a state event, and they are not working royals, so and it's being funded by the taxpayer, and I don't want them there as a taxpayer. And some of you have a misunderstanding about that. Trooping of the colour on the first day of that weekend is a state occasion, and it's state funded. It's a formal state ceremonial parade marking the occasion of the Queen's official birthday. She has her actual birthday, and then she has her official birthday, which is on a different date. It's quite bizarre. But the Platinum Jubilee, and lots of people don't realise this, you'll hear plenty of killjoys telling you, I don't want my tax spent on this, this huge party, what's this all in aid of? It's not state funded. The taxpayer don't pay towards a Jubilee. No. And that will actually surprise a lot of you, because it's going to cost at least £13 million the organisers had to begin raising. And it's only been a year in the making, and this is going to be a colossal, huge undertaking. I mean, the logistics of it are totally unbelievable, and there's no dress rehearsal. They can't do a dress rehearsal for it. So it's an enormous undertaking. It's privately funded by generous individuals and companies. Sorry, I should be clearer here and say that although the celebrations are privately funded, the public purse will cover the costs, which are quite considerable, of the Metropolitan Police and various logistical arrangements, things like that. And the 2 or 3 people that are overseeing the entire event work in tandem with 3 sets of bosses. The first is the Department of Culture. So that involves working with the government and ministers, and they really want to push the creativity of the UK and the kingdom, and the union. They want to make a lot of the union, because there's lots of whispers that Scotland's going to be leaving us, and now Ireland. The United Kingdom might fracture over the next few years if people fall out of love with the idea of a kingdom. So they really want to push that for the Jubilee, creativity and the union. The second set of bosses involves Buckingham Palace, liaison and logistics, courtiers that are representing for Sir Edward Young, who is the Queen's private secretary. And the third set of bosses involves Downing Street. So that is the Cabinet Office in Downing Street. And they want to push throughout these celebrations really the government's agenda, which is our Conservative government here in the UK. They won their election by bigging up the levelling up of the United Kingdom, to take it away from London and level up throughout the country in some of our great northern cities and towns and the other parts of the kingdom. That was a large part of their mandate when they won the election, levelling up throughout the country. So there'll be lots of representation from all of the country, and there's going to be huge representation from all of the Commonwealth. And they'll be pushing to showcase elements of sustainability, everything that runs in tandem with their ambitions for climate-related and ecological issues. So they are the three main bodies that the organisers of the Platinum Jubilee are answerable to. And then aside from that, you have the Ministry of Defence and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Initially, they had to source £13 million to get things into gear. I would imagine that figure's gone up by now. So they wooed various companies and private individuals for donations, and eventually they began getting on board people like Burberry, JCB, Charlotte Tilbury, darling makeup artist, makeup company, Moet, as in Moet and Chandon, and Goldman Sachs. And once they got those biggies on board, they knew they'd be able to see the whole thing through. But as well as the huge number of people who are going to be attending this Jubilee and the 1 billion people who will be watching it broadcast around the world, at least 1 billion, there will be 10,000 performers, behind the scenes crew. Basically there's 10,000 people at least who will actually be involved and who will end up physically converging on the route of the pageant, especially on the Sunday as it proceeds and progresses up towards Buckingham Palace. 10,000. And that is why there is every chance that, unlike the balcony appearance at Trooping the Colour, we may see additional family members at the grand finale on the final day of the Jubilee. Jubilees haven't always been celebrated or existed. They're a relatively new idea, really, when you look back in history. The first one was for George III in 1809. And then Queen Victoria had 2 Jubilees. She reached her golden and her diamond Jubilee. And then George V had a silver Jubilee. And of course Her Majesty has had 4, so she's beaten them all. She's had the silver, golden, diamond, and now the platinum Jubilee. And of course this is no one's ever done that before. It's completely unprecedented to have a platinum Jubilee celebration. Now it's time to show you my charity shop finds in Tip Jar Corner. I love having a burning candle in the background of my videos. I hope you enjoy having it there too. It just offers a sense of comfort, doesn't it, and relaxation, and sets the tone with that golden glow. And yes, I found this lovely candle holder for this pillar candle. And isn't it wonderful? It's about £14, I think, from memory, which is more than I usually spend on one item at a charity shop, but it's all for a good cause. And also it'll be a really permanent addition here to the broadcasts, because it's very sturdy and well made, and I really like it. It works very well there with the candle, so I was very happy with that. Just a simple photo frame here, and it was just 99p, so it was a complete no-brainer. I just really liked the decoration around the side. I thought it actually looked very classy, and I'll be able to use it if ever I want to showcase a photograph of the Queen or one of the little comical things that I find for you guys. I'll be able to have something to display it in the background. So very pleased with that. Lovely necklace here. I don't think I've shown you this. Forgive me if ever I overlap and show you the same thing twice. I can't always remember in which sequence, whether I've already worn something before I've shown it to you, or the other way around, or if I've shown you twice, but I don't think I've shown you this one. Really lovely, delicate necklace here with a clear drop in the middle. And what I love about it is that these 2 jewels at the side will just brush against my collarbone, and it's very delicate and elegant looking, I think. So I can save that for a lovely off-the-shoulder moment where my shoulders are on display, and it'll just adorn them and encrust my frame. I wore this one the other day, but I don't think I've shown it to you. It's this spray brooch with a aurora borealis effect on it. And you gave me quite a few compliments for this brooch, so thank you. I agree with you. I think it's lovely. I love the pearl in the middle there, and the design of it's very classy. This one I wish was bigger. It's just a ruby brooch, very small, too small really to wear just as a brooch. Well, it looks big there, but it's not. It's small. But it might be useful to wear as I've worn this brooch today, repurposing it for something else. Or maybe to jazz up one of my crowns. You know, these little gems often come in useful for improvisation. Thanks for joining me on today's broadcast, my dears. I enjoyed your company, And thanks to those of you who left me a tip in the tip jar. It's most kind, my dears. And, well, my little platinum puddings, my little lemon trifle delights out there, I look forward to seeing you again in the next broadcast. Toodle pip.